every day to the world and to your heart. Open up your eyes and let your spirit start. Say yes to the dreams you hold inside. Let your soul be your guide.
In today's complex mortgage world, finding the right direction can be challenging. That's where Lighthouse Advisors comes in. With over 25 years of experience, we provide fractional leadership and executive oversight, guiding companies through transitions, growth, and innovation. From IMBs to brokers to credit unions to tech firms, our team of seasoned professionals is here to shine a light on solutions, ensuring your business thrives in every environment. At Lighthouse Advisors, we don't just guide, we empower. Together, let's create a ripple of success across the industry. Email us today at laura@lighthouseadvisors.com. Thank you for joining us today for another episode of Wednesday Wisdom. Today, we are joined by the amazing Kahren Oxner. She is the Pacific Northwest Regional Manager at U Mortgage. Kahren, thank you so much for joining us, and I cannot wait to hear all of your incredible insights.
We'd like to having me, Laura.
Thank you so much. We'd like to kick it off with advice. All of us are shaped by the people we meet and the things that we learn from others. So I'd like to start off with, give us one piece of advice or something that you learned from someone, and how did that influence some of the things that you have done in your life?
Oh, I love that so much. I don't know if it was necessarily advice that someone told me, but it was more watching someone in their element thrive and how they impacted me and learning from that person. And really, it was Donnie. And Donnie Grebstein is one of the first people that I met in the mortgage industry years ago, literally 25 years ago. And I started my career as an account executive with Countrywide. Back in the day, I was a wholesale account executive with Countrywide. And we didn't have social media. We didn't have all the different ways to connect to people that we were looking to do business with. They literally handed me a phone book and said, get out there, Kahren, go make money, go make some magic happen. And I was like, what in the heck? How am I going to do this? And so, Laura, I literally started going through, and at that time, our clients as account executives still were mortgage companies and mortgage brokers specifically. So I was like going through, the yellow pages, trying to find mortgage brokerage companies. And I zeroed in on one, and it's terrifying, right? You're making cold calls.
Oh, yeah.
Cold calls are just as uncomfortable now as they were then, but that is how we had to find clients and drum up business. So I called a mortgage company. Somebody answered the phone. It happened to be Donnie Grebstein. Her voice was so warm and inviting and wonderful. We struck up a conversation. She opened a door. It was probably one of the most wonderful encounters that I could have had in a cold call. We ended up doing an amazing amount of business together. We got together, had, lunch, developed a relationship, and this woman did so much business. It was ridiculous. I remember one day, and gosh, it was probably 2004, 2005. She personally locked 21 loans with me herself,
my goodness,
in one day. I mean, she was just a beast. And the one thing that I remember from her, and this is going to go full circle to your question about advice, is that no matter what was going on in her life or how busy she was or how many demands she had or how many other outside things were coming at her, when she made time for you and when she was one-on-one with you, nothing else mattered. She zeroed in on your relationship and you were the only thing that mattered. She had an incredible and uncanny way to make someone feel so incredibly special, so incredibly seen. And the way this woman built, developed, and nurtured relationships was absolutely next level. And I will never forget the way she made me feel. And it was powerful. And people were loyal to her.
And you learned very quickly that
Generous with her attention.
the way that you felt with her is exactly what you wanted to then do for others. And that's kind of shaped you into the person that you are now because you do that for others at this point. So, what valuable lesson that you learned from her? That's incredible.
It was incredible. And she went on to be by far my biggest client, one of my best business partners, but then also a dear, trusted, well-respected friend and sister. And those are the kinds of relationships that we're capable of building. And I will never forget the way that she taught me to deepen and nurture relationships. And it's something that I strive to do every day with people in my life, professionally and personally. And it's Donnie. We can really impact people.
I love that. I love that. Well, some of the things that she taught you also ties into leadership. So now I want to kind of go into that direction. Okay. So now very early in your career, she kind of was your angel that kind of stepped in at that moment of fear, that moment of the unknown, the moment where you're like, I'm looking at yellow pages. Where do I start? What do I do? And I'm just not feeling very confident right now in this moment. But then she appeared and she kind of lit the way and allowed you to be able to gain some confidence and realize that now you have this great anchor client, right? That's going to be there to support you, which gives you more confidence to keep going and keep building from there.
Yeah. And you never know, one phone call, what door that might open, what opportunity it might present. And we're so afraid to take that step or so afraid to be shut down. And you have to take the chance. You have to take the steps and you have to take action because you just never know what opportunity might lie just on the other side of that fear. And it could be just the most beautiful relationship you could imagine.
Agree. So how do you, now when we go into the leadership side, give me, what do you think is one of the most important traits as a leader? And of course, we know leadership is not a title. Leadership is much more than that. So give us a trait in your thoughts.
You know, I see a lot of leaders who feel as if it's, it's their show and the spotlight is always on them. It's all about them. They build, kind of yes men and yes women around them. And that's not a sustainable business model. The leaders that I really emulate and the ones that I see thriving are the ones that realize very quickly that they have a certain set of skills and a certain power, if you will, and their superpower is building their team and their tribe around them that is better at them in everything that are their superpowers. And then having the emotional intelligence and the ability to say, listen, we need to share ideas and share information. It is not the Kahren show. It is not the Laura show. It is about bringing strong, amazing, capable, creative individuals of all different backgrounds together that are actually better than me at that, and replacing certain parts of my business as I grow with someone that does it way better than me, so that then I can create something that's sustainable outside of myself. And I think that is kind of rare, but so important to be able to do as a leader, because then you really create legacy and then you really create something that's sustainable outside of you. And that should really be the goal.
Absolutely. I've come to learn now that my kids are grown that leadership and parenting is very, very similar. Because think about it, right? As a parent, your whole goal is to make it so your kids don't need you.
Yeah.
As a leader, It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You want to prepare your team and you want to your point, bring in these different experts so that they're better than you and they can keep moving up and doing different things and exploring new options in this world, because our greatest gift as a leader is to show people their superpowers and allow them to fly and allow them to continue to grow. Where you're a bad leader, to your point, right, is if you make someone just get stuck where they're just agreeing with the person.
Oh, that's the worst. Or fear of consequences. Like, I'm going to make a mistake, so I'm not going to push myself. I'm not going to try new things. I'm not going to get myself outside of my comfort zone for fear of, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done this. This is the right way to do it. But when you give your team the creativity and the freedom to then experience that and try new things and stretch themselves, that's when beautiful things happen.
Exactly.
And they always have better ideas than we do. And there's so many riches that are uncovered when you give people the flexibility and the freedom to explore that.
Yeah. And the other thing I've learned is, even if you do work with, or you see, maybe you don't work with them, maybe you just see it from afar, someone that's not a good leader, they're teaching you just as many valuable lessons as the good leader, because it kind of shows you, you know what, that's not the way I want to lead, or not the way I want to approach. So everything is a lesson. Right? Sure. Like, it's all a lesson. But I agree with you. Watching our people strive and grow and stretch and fly, that's what we want. That's the greatest thing. Oh, I love that. I love that.
It's so true. My just a little quick plug to Angela, my operations manager and been my, partner for years. She came to me with this awesome idea the other day about something that we're doing with regards to expense management. And it was so interesting because it was so simple, but it had never crossed my mind. And had she not felt comfortable and felt the freedom to come to me with this idea that was a total change in something that we had been doing, we would have completely missed this opportunity. And you have to let your people know that it's okay to do this and to have this freedom and to come up with these ideas, and beautiful things happen.
I love that. And great shout out to Angela. All right. So final question. We're going to wrap it up. That I like to, I call it my magic wand moment, right? That I believe that we all have to have these big, hairy, audacious goals, something that maybe you have no idea how you would ever accomplish it in this moment. And it doesn't have to be tied to business. It could be something you could want to climb Mount Everest, or, want to do something like that. But, I believe that if we don't throw it out to the universe or say it out loud, it's never actually going to kind of take shape. So I love to wrap everything up with giving people the ability to have that magic wand moment, that if you could take out your magic wand and make something happen, what would it be, Kahren? What would have you have that moment?
I love that. And I love dreaming big. And I've actually been doing a lot of soul searching around goal setting right now, because we did goal setting as a team last week with Chris Vinson. And I think a lot of times professionals do goal setting around finances and professional goals and money, and those things are all great and important, but it misses so much of what makes us thrive personally, spiritually, with our partners, with our families, with our friends. Just, it was such a beautiful, well-rounded thing to look at, and way to look at goal setting. And so I actually have been, thinking a lot about this. And I love where I live in Oregon. I live right on the river. It has been a dream of mine since I was a little kid. I grew up in Lake Stevens, Washington. And if you lived on the lake, you were rich. You had made it. We did not live on the lake. But we would get in our, fiberglass Boston Whaler and go out, and go fishing with my dad on the weekends. And we would see all these like beautiful homes. And to me, that was like,
you made it.
You made
it.
You made it. And I made it. I live on the river in Oregon. I absolutely love it. The summers are beautiful, but the winter is cold and dark and rainy. And on my wish list now would be, I would love to spend my winters somewhere like have a place in Arizona where you live, or maybe even in Mexico. I love traveling to Mexico. I've got family that has a place right on the ocean in Los Brillos, and I love going there. Our careers are such that I could absolutely spend 3 months of my life in another sunny location. So my stretch goal, my wish list is to, have somewhere amazing where I can spend 3 months during the winter time to be in the sun.
Well, I don't think that's even much of a stretch, to be quite honest. I think that's an easy. I think that is certainly something that you put that date and you're like, okay, maybe it's not happening in 25, but 26 will be here soon enough.
Right?
Because I will tell you, Kahren, doing that, it's amazing how your brain kind of turns on in this, all of a sudden that sun, and all of a sudden it just changes where that 3 months, you get this burst of energy and you get this inspiration that's kind of like, I want to work even harder because this is important to me and I feel so great. So having these kinds of goals, right? It's not just about, oh, I want to be able to be in the, it's not about that. It's actually not. Recognizing, you know what? When it's so dark and dreary, I really don't feel the same. I need that little burst of energy from the sun and things like that. That's understanding yourself.
Yes.
And saying, I know how to maximize myself. Totally. And the thing is, Kahren, there is not 1 second that anybody should feel negative about that. That is a positive. That is a wonderful goal. That is like sometimes people are like, am I being selfish? No, because you're recognizing what would be something that would take me to the next level to be able to help more people, to be able to maximize myself. And I want everybody out there thinking of things like that. I love that example because that bottom line, what you said, was a well-rounded, I recognize that this is something I would like to change to continue to be my best. And that is wonderful.
And the greatest thing about the goal that I had of living on the water in Oregon is it wasn't just about accomplishing this to be a certain level of affluence. It was because I wanted a place for my friends and family to come to enjoy the things that I love, to go swimming, to go in the boat, to enjoy those things. So for me, it's about bringing together the things that I love with the people that I love. And so being able to do that all year round, somewhere where sunny as well, it's all encompassing in terms of, getting the vitamin D, but having this place that I can bring people to and celebrate them and take care of them and host them. And I love that. I mean, that to me is success when I'm able to have you over and make you a beautiful meal that I've, grown in my garden and put together this like fancy cocktail for you and just make you feel so special because you're here at this place that I've worked hard to, to achieve. That is like, to me, just a beautiful thing. It's all encompassing.
A few years ago, one of the reasons why we spend the winter in Scottsdale is I read a book, and I don't even remember what book it was, but the book spoke about how many summers do we think we have left in our lives. And I gotta be honest, until I read that book, I didn't really think about that, right? And I think when
Yeah.
I read it, maybe I was in like my early 40s when I read it, right? And I remember saying to my husband, it's not about how many summers you have. It's about how many summers do you have where you can go out on the boat and you can swim and you can
Yeah.
climb mountains and you can run and you can, because there's a difference between being on this earth
Yeah.
and being strong and healthy and physically fit and
Yes.
everything else, right?
Yes.
And I remember saying to my husband, you know what? I'm not going to sit in my house in New Jersey in the cold, in the ice, in the
Yes.
snow, in the dreary, because I'm not willing to give up a winter in the house. I'm going to have a winter in the sun because I don't know how many winters I'm going to have where I
Yeah.
can climb a mountain and go biking and all that
Yes.
kind of stuff because none of us
Yes.
know. And
Nope.
so I didn't expect this conversation to go here, but I want everyone to think about that.
Yeah.
Think about, it's not about wherever you live, that's great, and everyone is blessed. We're all blessed wherever we are, right? But think about what we're spending our time on and who
Yes.
are we spending it with? Because
Yes.
Karen's example of, I want to be able to host and be able to serve and be
Yes.
able to laugh and joke and have precious moments. That's what it's about. It's about
Absolutely.
those precious moments and those people that we're spending it with.
And we don't know
Karen,
how many summers we will have or how many summers the people
they
that we
will.
want to spend those moments will have.
That
So
is
spend them
right.
wisely because that is time is the one currency that we all have, a limited
Limited.
amount of.
Regardless how match it is, it's limited because it goes
Yeah.
by so fast. Karin, thank you for being so amazing. Thank you for giving us all a reason to stop and think and really digest some of those things that you shared because it really, really was impactful. And
Thank
keep
you.
shining brightly, my friend.
You as well. Thanks, Laura.